Audrey Brigando is a candidate for District 5 Bryan Independent School Board. She joins us. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Audrey Brigando, born and raised here in Bryan, College Station. I graduated from Bryan ISD, Bryan High in 1991. I did go to school in East Texas, and then I flew to Pennsylvania, finished up some more schooling, and then I moved back and became a permanent Bryan ISD resident in 2012.
Tell me why you're seeking this position.
I've always been interested in community volunteerism, giving back to my community. My father was someone who always was working to make the world a better place, and that may have been through his business, but also through his volunteerism for the city, any political party he was a part of, some of our nonprofits in the area. So that value is instilled very early on. I think I made a joke the other day that I had a set bedtime my whole life, except for on election day. We were allowed to stay up until everything was in. We typically passed out before everything was in. So that kind of was rooted early on. My interest in the school board is I am an educator. I do teach at Blinn College in Sam Houston, along with counseling. I'm interested in education. I'd like to make sure that our teachers and our students feel supported. And, excuse me, as I'm speaking with parents, I realize they feel like there are some walls where there really aren't walls, but they don't have that person that they feel like they can reach out to on the board to ask these questions. Some parents don't even feel like they can ask their teachers questions. Not that that's the environment we set, but some families don't know.
So let's talk about not only that, but then the other direction, and that is teachers being able to communicate within the system. Have you talked to teachers? Tell me about your interaction with teachers.
I have spoken to randomly running into teachers, not knowing, so walk blocking or going to the National Nights Out and meeting teachers. They don't feel heard. They don't feel supported as a whole. Maybe it's just the few I've run into, but it seems to be a trend in the conversation. Some of the questions they've asked me, well, how often will you be in the schools? How often will you be reachable to us? We want to feel heard. We know not everything that we have an issue on can be resolved, but we need to feel heard, and that's something that they're eager to feel.
You have children in their 20s, but you also have younger children as well. So you've been associated with public schools for a while.
Yes, sir.
With that view, tell me how you see that things are different now than they were, say, when your first set of children was going through school.
With my first set, those two children were heavily involved in sports. So my purview is a little bit different because I had football, baseball, track. The younger two are not necessarily sports, they're just more academic. One of them likes to swim, but at the middle school age, you don't have a swim team. So it was focused on the honors programs, the AP programs, the Inspire, and this Odyssey program, because those two older children were in that program. My 13-year-old is also in one of the honors programs, but my last child is someone with needs. So he's not necessarily in the honors program. So I have a totally different perspective, not knowing the special education programs, and you have those children get an individualized education plan. So I've seen the gifted side, and now I'm seeing what obstacles are there for the children who need resources or supports within their system. So for me, that has been the big difference. It's a wide variety. I think within even the sports and the older, with my older kids, there were things parents didn't know or didn't know they could reach out for, like if they had a sports injury or even a health issue or had a question for their coaches, not knowing. Some parents advocate and already know that they can advocate for their kids. Most of them don't, and that's the issue that I've seen.
Open
that
and
is
bookmark.
consistent from the older group to the younger group.
Talk to me about the obstacles, your word, for those children in needs.
For the older kids, I would say with my older children, if we had a sports injury or if we had a question about having to split your time because you're a blended family and missing practices, those were questions that I felt parents weren't ready to ask, where I would encourage them to do that. And then if they had questions about academics, they weren't giving those questions. With the younger group, just knowing that there were things that they needed, I see the same issues on the flip side. Parents don't know that they can advocate for themselves within those IEP programs, because they'll have a meeting with all the teachers who are helping their children, and they are not sure how to research so that they can ask the right questions. So that's what I'm talking about. The obstacles of understanding their child's needs and the diagnosis they have, and then also understanding what supports they actually need in the classroom.
The other group of students are people who are unwilling and disinterested.
Correct.
How do you address that?
I believe to get children engaged, you do have to start with some of the extracurriculars in the elementary and middle school grades. Right around 4th or 5th grade is when we stop referring to our self-image based on our own thoughts. We start taking in what our peers are saying or what our teacher may have said. Whether that interpretation is what that person meant or not, we start taking in other people's perspectives. And oddly enough, if we lose our kids at that point in time, as far as low self-esteem, you're going to see the ripple effect of disinterest in school, disinterest in socialization. And we already have a disinterest in actual socialization, the way we grew up socializing, because everybody's on their phones. Applying the things that we're learning in the classroom, socializing while we're trying to apply those learned skills, comes through extracurriculars. Most children in class, we talk, but we shouldn't. We should be listening. We should be doing our work. I believe that those extracurriculars, starting even early on in elementary school, small, we don't have to go to practice at 6 a.m. just like the football players do, but a small 30-minute activity after school helps us start applying those skills, not only speaking, but applying the things that we've learned. And that's what I've seen as a consensus, even teaching at the college level, is our kids don't know how to socialize. They also don't know how to apply the knowledge that they've learned. They know the theory, they know the facts, they know the definitions, but then applying that is a lost skill. And I think that if we can get them interested in those extra activities, which are somewhat fun, sometimes we have pizza, sometimes we chat, but we're applying those skills, then you keep them interested and engaged as you matriculate through each grade level, because information gets harder. So if we're missing stuff, we're going to miss it long-termly.
When it comes to building a curriculum and having it reviewed, where do parents fit into that equation?
Right now, parents get to review it, think about it, and perhaps vote on some things. I don't think they quite understand that they can have a voice or even support their teachers. And I think I like what my children have gone to Jane Long and Mary Branch. Jane Long, the new math system, the Common Core math, is very different than what we learned as when we were in school. I like the fact that they had an education day for the parents, like, come learn how we do the math. So when your student comes home, you can help them. Getting parents to understand it's a learning process for them, and doing some more educational programs for them to get them just as engaged.
We have a three-element bond issue before BISD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to presume you were in favor of all three of those.
A little bit here and there. It's sprinkled around.
I'd like to hear what you have to say then.
I do love, and I can't hide that part, the technology, the information and the money that we're going to put in, if the bond is passed, into the technology system that our schools, we want to put into our school systems. I think that is a big piece of keeping multiple avenues of information coming in. Our students are already in social media, working with media. They know technology. 2-year-olds know phones better than their parents. If we don't start delivering our information in a multi-platform system, we are going to we may lag behind educationally. So I do love that portion. I do think that we probably need some upgrades to our athletic system. I believe the last time we did any major changes was in the 90s. That was before I graduated. I've seen It looked the same when my older two were in athletics. And then, of course, building maintenance I am in favor of. We need to keep our buildings safe. So if the voters choose to vote it in, I would like to just be more conscientious of how we're spending the money and what we're focusing on to get those things done.
Tell us about your particular level of knowledge when it comes to this district's finances.
It's odd, but I feel like I'm not quite privy to everything. I know I've been asked by other parents when I'm walking around meeting families, hey, we don't know, do you think there should be an itemized list of how we spend things? And honestly, I do feel like it should be itemized. Right now, parents can go and ask, there's a particular department, and you can ask for that itemized list of what they've been spending things on. You'll get it. I'm not sure how quickly you'll get it because I've never actually asked for it myself. But I don't think that that's the era of parents that we're talking to, the sit and wait and listen. We are talking to my generation and below are the children who were raised with choices. We had a whole program of educating and raising our children with give them 3 choices. These children are now adults and they want to know more and they want to know what their choices are. And just being open and transparent with how the funds are being spent and where they're going is the only way to keep our families happy right now.
Tell me the challenges that you see this school district having right now, beyond what you've already mentioned.
I think our biggest challenge hasn't started yet, the voucher system. I think it's going to be problematic. We've already lost some children to some of the charter schools. I think we may lose more. They can't take their funds to the charter schools, but they can take them to the private schools. I think it's going to be important that we market our programs, what we're doing and how important they are and what success stories and then what struggles we have, what improvements we think we need to make to those programs. But we also need to be transparent with why your child would benefit from being in Bryan ISD. We do have multiple programs. We have multiple avenues. I'm not going to say that other programs don't, but with this voucher system, we will have to make ourselves look attractive to parents.
At the same time, attracting and retaining when it
Correct.
comes to your teachers and administrators.
Correct.
What do you need to do there?
With our teachers, I think it's really going to start with making them feel heard and supported. A lot of them feel kind of like lost in a pot sometimes alone. The teachers and the parents feel like maybe we need to be putting a little more funds into the classroom so the teachers aren't going into their own pockets for supplies. They're not heavily pushing parents to bring in supplies because things are expensive already. And I know the school district is strapped for how we're spending cash, but I do believe we could take a deeper dive and see how we can spend it more wisely.
Why are you the best person to be elected to this seat?
I'm probably just as passionate as any other candidate. I have a unique perspective coming in. I have been in education. I have worked in corporate America. I've had to answer to an itemized spending bill, meeting metrics that make sense, that are actually attainable. And I think I can bring that multi-level occupational background to the board and give some sound advice on how to best tighten up our budget or put money where it's going to make the most use, and working with our administrators to make our system stronger.
Anything we haven't covered today that you'd like to mention?
Besides that, I'm just a mom trying to get my children the best education possible.
Audrey Brigando, she is District 5 candidate at BISD School Board. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.